Hi everyone, welcome to Rike Sports and our F1 show with F1 Global. Hi Ollie, how are you?
Good, mate. It's race week again, so happy days.
Yeah, it's nice when it's a short break like this. So just a few days now till the next race in Spain, Barcelona. Looking forward to that. Before we discuss that, let's take a look back at the race last weekend, the Portuguese Grand Prix. And you've got to say again, it was been a really good race. We've been sport this season. You know, all the races have been really good. This race, you wouldn't say it was as lively as the first two, but still, it was a really good race. What a result we had in the end, where Lewis Hamilton came. He was down in third at one point, came back to win the race. What a performance! You know, we always talk about how great a driver he is, but he just keeps reminding us. And as that Toto Wolff said, we talk about it, but he does it so often. You know, it shouldn't really be a surprise. He's just so consistent. He makes mistakes so rarely. And in this race, he passed Max Verstappen to get P2 and then went and passed his teammate Bottas to get the first position. And then after that, just control the race. All the drivers were really struggling all weekend with the tires, but he was not having such issues. He missed out on pole, so that was a bit of a shock. You know, both of us were surprised with that. I think everyone would have been surprised that Bottas managed to stick it on pole by a really minimal margin, but it was like 0.07 seconds or something, wasn't it? So, yeah, Bottas done well to get pole, but then when it came to the race, Hamilton was dominant. What was your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke briefly before this, and we've said it so many times last year, last week, the week before. If Max or anyone else wants to win this championship while Hamilton is racing, you have to be perfect. And I think what we mean by when we say perfect, we mean pole position, we mean winning the race, and we mean fastest lap. You need everything to beat him. And yeah, again, he just showed that, he may not be in the strongest car. It was a bit 50-50. The Red Bull, well, everybody was struggling with the tyres, a bit of a strange tyre choice from Pirelli this weekend, but, I'm no expert on that really. But yeah, he just showed how good he is. And, also on the flip side, he showed maybe just how weak Bottas is as well. I mean, the pole position was completely unexpected. I mean, I think our predictions were focused around Red Bulls and Lewis or being P1, like locking out the front row, and then Hamilton or a combination of those guys. So it was really surprising, to see Bottas pole, but he just couldn't do enough. Even with that great getaway from the safety car after the Raikkonen Giovinazzi incident, you saw that, and I definitely thought, well, he's got it from here. He could build up a big lead. He could definitely push on, but he just couldn't get away. And got to give credit to both Verstappen and Hamilton. They just kept him in their sights, controlled that distance, and both made great moves on him later on in the race. So, yeah, it was just a masterclass from him again. We sound like a broken record just saying it week after week now, but yeah, what a race. But also I have to call out other drivers, Norris, Leclerc, both Alpine drivers, Ocon and Alonso, big points for them this weekend. So, and Ricciardo, of course. So, a really strong race for a lot of drivers, actually. So, yeah, really, really good to see. Outside of Hamilton, who impressed you this weekend?
So I thought Norris again was strong. He's doing really well. You know, he's got the better of Ricciardo at the moment. So that's impressive because we know how good Ricciardo is. We know Ricciardo is settling into a new team and he should improve, but it's a really strong start from Norris. You know, he's looking strong in qualifying and in the races. Leclerc, again, we know how good Charles is, up against Sainz, we know he's a good driver as well, but the consistency of Charles, I'm looking forward to him at Ferrari. Is really competitive.
Yeah.
He's up there challenging for race wins. It's going to be amazing to see him competing with the likes of Lewis and Max. And yeah, we're looking further down the field. So a bit of a disappointment with Mazepin. Again, got to say, he doesn't seem to be improving at all. He seems to be going backwards, if anything, continually spinning. At this elite level, we talked about it in the last show we did, but how is he spinning so much? At that elite driving level where you shouldn't really, all right, you might not be so fast, but you should have better control over the car. And he really seems to be struggling to that. I'm seeing him in practice sessions all over the place, spinning, and in the race, multiple spins again. He finished a mile behind. We know he's in a really slow car, but if you compare it to how his teammates performing, Mick Schumacher's doing a much better job. He's the main thing is keeping the car on the road,
Yep.
as much as possible, which is the least you need to be doing, as an elite level driver. You need to be keeping the car on the road. You know, what's your thoughts?
I mean, it was a bit mad, wasn't it? I don't know what to say anymore. Like, he was a mile behind, and it was like over 90 seconds behind. Yeah, he got the penalty, but there's no reason for him to be that far. It was really shocking to see, actually. And I mentioned before, and I think our preview show for the whole series, both drivers in their junior Formula careers took a while to get used to the machinery. And I get this Haas car isn't, I don't know how to be fair to it, isn't a normal or good Formula One car, maybe. Is that the polite way of putting it? It's a bit of junk. But, two big killer things. One, Mick Schumacher overtook someone. And, those guys are only competing against each other. For that to happen is huge, and it does lay down a big gauntlet. And I know it sounds really pathetic, but if your teammate gets an on-track overtake against another car, it's a big deal. And, that really could actually have further effect on Mazepin. Maybe we could see more reckless mistakes. But also, actually, a big thing is this Friday in free practice 1 in Spain, Williams have got Roy Nissany, I don't know how to say his name, in the car. I will be very politically fair to Roy. He is not fast. He's a crap driver, and he's paid a lot of money to get that seat. But he is kind of slow. So that's where Mazepin also has got to measure himself. Because I think if, he's slower than Nissany, who's only driven that Williams car 2-3 times, then you've got problems there, mate. Like, you've really got to start looking at what you're doing. Yes, your dad may be buying the team next year, but that will only go so far. Money talks at the end of the day. If you're not bringing in the money, he won't want to keep you in that team. So, I'm not a professional Formula One driver. Obviously, I don't know what advice to give him, but I don't like him as a person for obvious reasons, but you'd hope as a driver he would have improved at least with 2 races under his belt. Well, I say 2. Yeah, 2. I was going to say 3, but Bahrain can't count. I mean, he did 3 corners. So, yeah, I think, it is what it is. I mean, what more is there to say? Than that.
Did you see with the blue flags? Like, it was really poor of him there as well. Like, what's he doing? Like, you be aware of what's going on around you. You've been given blue flags, you're ignoring them. What are you doing? Like, you're affecting other people's races. So that was really poor of him, and they definitely need to speak to him there and tell him to concentrate more, and he has to keep working. That's the only way you can get better. Good luck to him with that. In terms of now looking at the picture between Red Bull and Mercedes, so it's been very close. We weren't sure the first race. Does Red Bull have a faster car? It seems like they did have the outright speed. Then we saw second race, Hamilton took pole. Third race now, Bottas has took pole. So again, Mercedes have taken pole position now 2 in a row. Red Bull had a few issues with their tyres, you could say. So now we're heading to Spain, which a track the teams all know really well. Obviously, they do a lot of testing there. They've raced there for many years. Mercedes stronghold, they do so well there. The only time they've lost there in recent years is when Hamilton and Rosberg crashed into each other. But other than that, they don't get beaten there. They're really strong, as we know. And just how it's really important how Red Bull will go this weekend. Have they already lost that a little bit of the speed advantage they had? Was it just down to warming up the tyres? Because when you look at it, Max should have had pole. He went off the track limits. So in the last race, and even the race before that, he made a mistake where he ended up finishing third behind Perez and Hamilton got a pole. So it seems that Red Bull still do have that outright speed, but it seems on race day, the Mercedes is more than a match for them. They might be even slightly faster than them. And with a driver like Hamilton, he makes all the difference. So as you said, Red Bull really do need to be perfect. What's your thoughts? Who do you think has the advantage at the moment?
It's so hard to call, isn't it? I think it is pretty even. To be honest with you, I think the Honda engine has definitely pushed Red Bull a little bit further. That engine is clearly a lot better. Their straight line speed is better. But it's so tough to tell, isn't it? I mean, and I think, it's even harder to tell because Hamilton's driving the Mercedes. You feel like you get the Williams on pole sometimes, don't you? But yeah, I would still put the advantage with Red Bull. I mean, I think just seeing some of the results that they've got this year especially just gives me that little bit more confidence in them and that car. I go back to Bottas and Imola. He was getting overtaken by Russell, which isn't a good look. I know Perez obviously didn't score, but You look at Bahrain, Perez went from, pit lane to P5. And so that gives me the confidence in the car. So I think Red Bull is probably a faster car. But at Spain, you can't look past Mercedes and Lewis. It's then the other battles that is more interesting between maybe like Max and Valtteri and Sergio. And there's a mad stat I read as well. It was Valtteri Bottas has had 17 pole positions and 9 wins. Max has had 4 pole positions and 11 wins, which to me is just insane. And, we do bash Bottas quite a lot. And, it's because he's in a top car, he should be doing better. But to not have that conversion rate, and we saw it yet again, that's now 18 poles and 9 wins, or I think it's still 17. Whereas Max does pick up wins from lower positions. I think that's where the balance is there. And that's why I've definitely picked Red Bull for the Constructors title. So, yeah, I think I would say Red Bull have the faster car, which is why I've gone for them for the Constructors. But I would say Lewis is just Lewis Hamilton, which is why I've gone for him for the Drivers' Championship. So, who knows? Mercedes are an amazing outfit, so I think maybe they've already sorted out the issues that we saw from testing. It wouldn't surprise me. So, God, that's a terrifying thought, isn't it?
Yeah, this weekend's a really important one. It's going to tell us a lot. If we go there and Mercedes dominate, or they stick it on pole without any excuses for Red Bull that there was an error or going off the track limits or anything, man, that's really ominous signs for Red Bull, because we know Mercedes will just get stronger and stronger. Red Bull, though, given credit, they do develop their car well through the year. So, we could see a really close battle throughout. One thing that we were talking about, Lewis being such a great driver, Max is still early days in his career. So we can't say he's a great driver. We know he's a very good driver, but he's showing signs of that inexperience. So obviously don't want to get on him too much. It's still early in the season. We're 3 races in. But if we look at it now, race by race, first race, made a mistake. Yeah, as we know, when he was trying to pass Lewis, went off a track. It's a tight one. I wouldn't call it a big mistake. Maybe he could have bided his time a little bit more to make a cleaner move. We saw how good Hamilton was in his last race with getting the job done in terms of passing so on. So you can say a slight mistake, but more concerning for him was in the second race. He should have had pole, but made a mistake there, ended up finishing behind his teammate in third. He went on to win the race, so well done to him for that. But then in this last race, again, we saw that, again, he should have had pole. He had the quickest time. He got deleted, again, because of going off track limits. And also in the race, he made a small mistake that made it easier for Hamilton to pass him. When he kind of went out of the last corner.
He overcooked it, didn't he?
Yeah, got a bad exit. That made it really easy for Hamilton to get past him. And then also, right at the end of the race, Mercedes made a mistake by bringing Bottas in a lap earlier for that fastest lap. That gave Red Bull the perfect opportunity to pit Verstappen. He would have the freshest tyres going into the last lap. Just had to get a nice clean lap. Unfortunately, he made the error again of going off the track limits, and then that cost him that 1 championship point, which in a tight season is really important. So we are seeing him make mistakes. Is it the pressure of racing against someone as great as Lewis Hamilton? I saw a comment from Nico Rosberg, who knows the best how good out of anyone. He will know the best how strong Lewis Hamilton is, and he's saying that Max is now getting to realize and see how good Lewis Hamilton is. And you really feel that when you're competing against him, just how good he is. So is it a case of that pressure on Max making him make these mistakes? Is it just that he's still inexperienced, or you think it's just a bit of bad luck? What's your thoughts on how Max has gone so far?
I mean, it's tough to call, isn't it? Because we know how good he is, and those stats I sort of read out prove that. I mean, that conversion rate from non-poles to wins is just insane. But it's those silly little mistakes that will cost him the championship, and I think he knows that. And he is a kid. I mean, what is he, 23? He's younger than some of the rookie drivers on the grid. Like, he was younger than Albon when Albon was a rookie. It was insane when you thought about that. But yeah, it's these little silly mistakes that will cost him the championship potentially. But on the flip side, I will defend him and say, the 2 things this year are around track limits, and obviously there's so much discussion around that and these ridiculous rules with track limits and what's going on. The one in Portugal, his fault, 100%. It was just him driving. It looked a bit lazy, a bit like autopilot, and he just went wide at, I think, at turn 14. But the one in Bahrain, I mean, that can always be up for debate. Guys were going wide at that turn for the whole race, including Hamilton. And then he does it on an overtake, gains an advantage when you could argue, well, every time anyone's gone wide, they gained an advantage. and had to give the position back. What was the bigger thing for me actually in Bahrain is when he was behind Hamilton, like you said, he should have bided his time a bit more, but just how Hamilton could pull away on older and harder tyres compared to him, that was the confusing bit. But yeah, I mean, he's young. He will win a world championship. I don't think you can argue against that. I think he'll win 2 or 3, to be honest. But yeah, he needs to stop these mistakes because, again, we'll say it every time. Hamilton will not. Hamilton will capitalise and win championships. Look at all the seasons he's had. You can't really say he's made big mistakes in his championship winning years. In the years he hasn't won, it's either been because of a mistake of him as a rookie, 2007 in China, or because of other cars are faster. And that's it, really. So, yeah, I think Max has definitely got to sort of sharpen up. I think that's the fair way of saying it.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I said, still a long way to go. And let's just hope we continue to see this tight battle. It's really amazing watching. We're looking forward to all the races. It's exciting not knowing who's going to win. It's been very dominant for Mercedes the last few seasons, as we know. So it's good stuff. Let's hope we get more of that this weekend in Spain. Just one bit of news that you were telling me earlier that came out today about Grosjean.
Yeah, so Romain Grosjean is going to be driving a Formula One car again. And I'm really excited to see this, actually. That accident was mad. I'm so happy he's in IndyCar, and I've managed to catch a bit of one of the races last weekend when McLaren Arrow actually got a win. So that was really cool to see. Bit of news with that as well, actually, I'll say afterwards. But yeah, it was announced today that he's going to do a demonstration run in Hamilton's 2020 W10 at the French Grand Prix, which is on the 27th of June. And then he's actually going to do a test at the same track 2 days later. So Toto Wolff last year, basically, Grosjean wanted to get back in the car for Abu Dhabi. I mean, we all saw his hands. We saw the crash. He couldn't. So Mercedes and Toto Wolff sort of said to him, look, when you're healthy, when you're fit, I'll let you drive one of our cars, go out on a high. So I'm really excited to see it because I think Grosjean, especially in that early 2010s when he was at Lotus, was one of the most exciting drivers on the grid. When he sorted out his mental state a bit more after the crashes, 13 podium positions, I think, an amazing driver. I think it was Spa in 2014, maybe 2015 to get on the podium. Super unlucky to never get a win. Grosjean was one of the best drivers for a period of time, and I know people give him a lot of abuse actually online for the crashes, for some of the comments he's made, but he definitely was one of the best drivers we've seen in recent years. So I'm super excited about that. Additionally, news for the end of this season, but because McLaren Arrow got a winner IndyCar Pato Award this weekend, Zach Brown apparently made an agreement that he will now be part of the young drivers test in Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. So that's super exciting to see. I think he's a really good talent. Maybe we'll see him potentially think about making a switch over to F1. It could be really cool to see. Last IndyCar to F1 driver I can really think of was Jacques Villeneuve, maybe, which was a good while ago. Maybe Scott Speed did it. I can't really remember. But yeah, that'll be super exciting to see. So that's all the news from me, I have to say. There's not a lot going on. I'm a bit disappointed, but yeah. Oh, and Robert Kubica's in FP1 this weekend for Alpha. I think Kimi just can't be asked. So he's gone, Robert, you go in. That's about it, really.
Yeah, so it's only been a few days since the last race. So yeah, not that much news, but yeah, it's cool to see Grosjean's going to be back in Formula One car. As you say, he's always rated highly among his peers, and they're the ones that are best judges. And they've always said the guy's got a lot of talent. Unfortunately, he's prone to making errors, but in terms of pure speed, he's right up there with the best drivers of his generation. Yeah. So yeah, got to be looking forward to that for him. Really bad accident, lucky to come through that one. That was a scary accident he went through. Yeah, so glad to see him back in the Formula One car soon. And now looking ahead to Spain. So as we're saying, this track the team's done really well. Most of the testing is always done there, and we expect to see a bit of. We're looking at the weather forecast now, so it's a bit early with weather forecasts. It's got my hopes up looking at it that we're going to see a race. So the forecast is there's a 50% chance of rain on Sunday, and I don't remember the last time we've seen wet race in Spain, Barcelona. So I can't remember, it must have been years. So if that does happen and we get some rain on Sunday, we could see a really exciting wet race there. The rest of the weekend, the forecast is dry. So Friday practice and Saturday qualifying, there's no rain forecast. But that could throw a variable up for the Sunday. What do you think? What's your thoughts on this coming race?
I mean, I hate this track because it's the test track and because the drivers and teams know it so well. We've had 3 amazing races, and I don't think we're going to get a 4th. Spain has been one of those tracks for a number of years that just hasn't delivered exciting races. The last exciting one was definitely when Hamilton and Rosberg crashed into each other. And even then, that was sort of 10 seconds of excitement, and then that was it. So, and from what I've heard as well, apparently George Russell said some quite rude comments about the track as well. So I don't think the drivers are too excited either. But yeah, I mean, if there's a wet race, that's great. I think I looked it up quickly. The last time there was rain was in 2017, but I think that was during practice sessions. I can never remember there being a wet race in Barcelona. So fingers crossed, because it may make the on-track action a bit more exciting. But yeah, I can't really say much because I'm not looking forward to it, in the sense that I don't think it will deliver much. But it will be a really interesting level playing field between Red Bull and Mercedes. I think that's where the excitement will be. It will be on the Saturday.
Yeah. So as I say, really, it's hope. Like we get some rain that will make it. As you say, it's a bit of a boring track in the sense that normally you get pole, it's very difficult to overtake, and the guy that gets pole normally does go on and win the race there. So that could be the case, but like I say, let's hope we do get that rain. That should mix it up. And as you said, in terms of a Saturday now, who's going to have that outright speed? Now, our predictions, so we've not done so well in the last race. We got pole completely wrong. Race winner as well, we both went for Max and both got that wrong as well. So what's your predictions for, first of all, pole this weekend?
Lewis. I mean, I think he's got it multiple times. I think it's hard to argue against him. So yeah, I'm going Lewis. It's a bit boring. 1, 2, 3. I'm going Lewis, Bottas, Verstappen. Actually, I think Mercedes will be on top. I think the only interesting thing as well, actually, we didn't mention this, was turn 10. So where the chicane was, that's been adapted. So it's now maybe not where the chicane was. It's now a wider corner instead of that. So that could play up something a little bit different. Maybe make it a bit faster. Really cut short straws. But yeah, I think Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen for me. The Mercedes always do well on this track, so it's hard to argue against them. What about you? Anything? Are you going anything radical? I realise I've been boring. Are you going something radical?
Well, yeah, Norris is going to stick it on pole.
That's a pin on pole.
But no, look, like you say, Mercedes is a stronghold for them. It really is a track that they perform really well. Looking at the circuit, is it going to favour the Red Bull? Red Bull, from what we've seen so far, their car aerodynamically has been really good through corners. But in Portugal, it lacked because they're saying the tires. So it's going to be interesting on this circuit, which, has got a fair amount of corners. It's not so much about straight line speed at Spain. It's more about the corners. So will they be more competitive? Remains to be seen. We're not really going to know until we get to qualifying on Saturday. For prediction, I think I'm going to go Max to stick it on pole. I think they'll have a slight outright speed advantage still when it comes to that one lap. I think they're better with the soft tires, just getting them up, which wasn't so beneficial for them in the last race. But I think that they'll get pole. However, going on to the race, I just think Hamilton's going to be too strong. If there's rain or no rain, if there's rain, even more so, we know how strong Lewis is in them conditions. But I think that the Mercedes have a better race car at the moment from what I've seen. And with someone like Hamilton, he makes a big difference. You could have average race car and he would make it a very good race car, as we've seen only compared to what he does and Bottas does. So he's that good, like Max really has his work cut out to, battle him throughout the whole season to get the championship. It's going to be a big ask. Like I said, let's hope they keep it close and competitive throughout the year. But yeah, that's my prediction. So I'm going to go, prediction for qualifying is going to be Verstappen on pole, Hamilton P2, and Perez P3. Then in the race, as I said, I'm going to go for Hamilton to win the race, Verstappen in second, and Perez in P3. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. I mean, I've just looked it up. The last time there was a wet race there was 1996, so 25 years ago.
I felt like it's been a long time, long time. That is a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's so long. So I don't think we're going to see a wet race just based on the trend and the data. But if there is, I mean, Perez and Bottas maybe won't be too happy. Hamilton, Verstappen will. Verstappen at Imola in changing conditions was amazing. We just saw Hamilton's Hamilton. I mean, you can just pick so many wet races. He's done well. But yeah, I think either way, it's tough to look past him. I'm going to go Lewis for the win. Verstappen second. I like to be different. Do you know what? I thought about this, and now I've got to say I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to put Alonso P3. Why not? That Alpine was pretty fast this weekend. Alonso's been pretty quiet this season, but home soil, he likes this track. He's good at it. And yeah, why not? I think, if there's a safety car, if there's a couple of incidents, he could work his way up. It probably won't happen, let's be honest. I think you've nailed it. I think those three guys, Perez, Hamilton, and Verstappen. But yeah, Alonso P3, why not? Let's mix it up.
Cool, yeah. Alonso, home track. He's 3 years. He's been so strong there. I remember some of the drives he's had there in Renault and with Ferrari as well. Really strong. I wish he was in a more competitive car. And I really hope next season, we see him, the Alpine, doing really well. We see the Aston Martin with Vettel doing really well. We see the Ferrari, Charles Leclerc doing really well, and McLaren. They got two really good drivers there as well. I think Nando's going to play a big part in the years to come. I think he's getting better and better. You think he's got a chance of being a potential world champion?
It's tough to call. I think the media almost downplay it a little bit because he is this sort of, in previous seasons, definitely is this sort of friendly, vibrant, cheeky, smiley person, and the media treats him like that. Like the comedic person of the grid. This season, it's definitely changed. You can tell he's a lot more serious. He's all in. I think he could, but I think he'll have a career that's very similar to Jenson Button. Where he gets on the podium a lot, has some good seasons in a good team, and then he probably has that one season where they take advantage of a regulation change or something like that, and he wins. And I think that'll be it. That's how I see his career going. I think he is a great driver. I don't put him in that sort of top tier, which is fair to say, I think. But yeah, I think he could become a world champion, but I think it could just be the one. But who knows? That McLaren is improving so much, and Ricciardo's getting up to speed. We saw how slow he was to get up to speed in the Renault when he first joined. Once he's fully up to speed in the McLaren, which he is doing all right in, actually, so far, you have to admit, that could maybe change Norris's sort of trajectory. It could have a big effect on his career. So, yeah, who knows? What do you think? Do you think the same, or do you think he can definitely get more than one?
I mean, really impressed with Norris. So, he's been consistent. And that's what you always like to see, that, the driver's consistently, you've seen an upward curve with him where he's improving. As I say, he's still young, he's taking things more seriously. And if McLaren can get him that car we're talking about, hopefully next year, where all the cars are much more competitive, we're interested to see how he does. By then, he'll be fully up to speed as well with the team. So next year is going to be really interesting. A lot of questions are going to be answered for us next year. I'm looking forward to it. One quick thing before we finish is Hamilton did mention he is planning to stay in Formula One for next season. And let's hope he does. Really, I hope he does extend his contract. I think he will. What's your thoughts on that?
I think he will as well. I mean, it was a pretty surefire statement of, why would he be testing these 18-inch tyres if he wasn't going to stay? And it's true. I think, why else would he do that? I think I also saw a headline today that Toto and him, or Toto wants to start ironing out contract details for next season. So yeah, I think he'll do it. It's so strange, isn't it? I think next season we could see a lot of people retiring. I think we'll see Alonso retiring. I think Kimi will retire at the end of this year. I think maybe Lewis could do one more season, maybe two, and then retire. Vettel the same. So we could see a lot of these sort of legends retire, and then this new wave, these Norris's, Verstappen's, Sainz, Leclerc, Russell coming through. But yeah, who knows? I think he's definitely going to do one more. I think that's fair to say. How many more we can see drivers can go up until they're 40 now, and I reckon he definitely could. So he could do 4 or 5 more. I'm not sure how old he is. I think 35, 36. So yeah, who knows? We don't know. Last year, me and you speculated so much of this damn contract, and then it was like, yeah, it's 1 year, and we were both like, it's going to be multi-years. He's going to have shares in Mercedes, and it was none of that. So God knows.
Yeah, it's hard to know because, like we know, we were saying before, it's kind of uncertain times still with the way the situation is around the world. So not sure how things will go in that regard, but the more we see of Lewis, the better. Hopefully he's going to be around for still a long time. Such a great driver. Showed it once again last week. And if he was to get pole this weekend, it would be his 100th pole, which would be a magnificent achievement as well. Just to add to the list of records he's got, he's just such a great driver to watch and such a pleasure for us to be able to see him and enjoying this battle with him and the up and coming star Max Verstappen. Let's hope it continues this weekend. Thank you for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate.
Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.